Hello, welcome to another reading of Precept Upon Precept, where we give you biblical readings with detailed understanding through extra precepts. A precept is an extra Bible verse to get more understanding on a previous biblical verse, basing it off Isaiah 28:10. For precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Today we'll be reading from Matthew chapter 14, where John the Baptist is beheaded. Christ feeds 5,000 with 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. Christ is walking on water, and he's healing the sick by them touching his garment. Enjoy. Let's get started. This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 14, verse 1. At that time Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Yeshua, and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother's, or Philip's wife. For John said unto Herod, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them, and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she asked. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John the Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given her. And he sent and beheaded John in prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it, and went and told Yeshua. When Yeshua heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Yeshua went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals. But Yeshua said unto them, They need not depart. Give ye them to eat. And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. And straightway Yeshua constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Yeshua went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Yeshua spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said unto him, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yeshua. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Yeshua stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. And they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, O of a truth, thou art the Son of the Most High. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. And as many as touched it were made perfectly whole. So that was Matthew the 14th chapter, one of my favorite chapters there. As you can see, the beginning of the chapter starts out with Herod, and he is the Tetrarch. As you know, there was a Herod in Matthew the 1st chapter when Christ came upon the scene. And Herod at this time tried to get a hold of Christ and kill him before he was able to fulfill his prophecy, right? And that was their thing back in the day, was getting to the children and destroying the children before they could fulfill their prophecies. The so Christ's parents had to flee into Egypt during that time. Okay. And they almost had this mission complete, but the angel, the Most High, helped Christ and his parents flee. So we're actually going to jump to a precept to talk about that. But that's a part of what the Roman Empire has always done. They will try to stump us out before we are born. They've done this even in our time right now. They use things like eugenics. They use abortions. They use vaccines. And those vaccines are usually catered to a certain demographic of people in a certain zip code, right? And it's usually the Black and Native tribes the Bible describes as the children of Israel. Okay. So the Most High, though, always has his angels working with us, always has his angels continuing to watch over us, and we always protected. But let's go and get a precept for that part in Matthew where Christ had to flee, to show you that nothing has changed. They're still targeting a certain group of people. This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 2, verse 16. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in the coasts of them, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. So you see, he slew all the children. They do not want those children to make it, because they will be the next John the Baptist, the next Christ, the next Peters, the next prophets, right? Verse 17. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, in Ramah was their voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they were not. Right. So that was a precept from the Old Testament there, right? Fulfilling what happened here in Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Verse 19. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Most High appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, this is verse 20, arise and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. So again, you see the angels protecting him. You see the agenda that was there. It was a agenda back then, and it was political, and it's the same thing today. Now, the next thing is when we get down to Matthew 14, we're back at Matthew chapter 14. When we look at verses 19 and 20, the whole 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes feeding 5,000. To most people, they'll say, what? That can't be possible. But again, all it takes is a mustard seed of faith to make things possible, right? And you got to operate a certain way. If you look at what Christ did, first thing he did was what? Pray to the Most High. Okay. If you go back, you look at it, he said a prayer. And the second thing he made sure to do was he got everything in order. Like if you go into the precepts there and the other parts of the gospel, he actually arranged his disciples and put them in order to have this people sit down in certain numbers and all that. We can do a lot when we operate in decency and in order. Okay. Just like as it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40. Right. The Most High says, do all things in decency and in order. We know the Most High loves order. We know Satan is the author of confusion. He don't like order. So when we're doing things out of order, we can't make things happen like the way Christ did there. And also when we got our houses in order, right? When we talk about 1 Corinthians 11, right? That whole chapter goes into the Most High being the head, then Christ being the head of the man being the head of the woman. Then it's the children. And we start off and have things at a proper foundation and in order. There's nothing we can't accomplish as long as it's the Most High's will. A lot of times we can't have these certain miracles and these blessings because, we're out of order. And that's in our homes. That's in our churches. A lot of places like that as well. The third thing I want to point out in Matthew 14 was Peter reaching out to Christ As they saw Christ walking on water, they were afraid. They were like, oh, what is this? It's a spirit, right? And Peter wanted to come out there as well. And Christ said, yeah, come on. Christ reached out his hand, and Peter heard the wind and became fearful. And this was a great, great telling story for us because it will help boost our faith that, you know, the fearful ain't got no place in the kingdom of the Most High. Okay. You got Christ right there. Same thing with us every day. We got Christ right with us. He's leading us. He's guiding us. There's no need to look down. There's no need to let the wind bother you. Okay. The whole thing about it is Christ already knew what was going to happen because why? He created the wind. He created all the elements. He created the moon, the stars, the sun. He created the whole atmosphere of earth. So he knew exactly how they work, all the inner workings of them, right? And we're going to read that really quickly. So when we see somebody walking on the water, Christ understands how the water work. He understands how to make the sea stay still. He understands the elements, how they work, all the inner workings of them. So it's easy for him to walk on water. Okay. We can have that same understanding. We can have that same knowledge when we operating through Christ, because now guess what? We can bind anything in heaven. We can bind anything in earth. We have the same power to understand the elements and how they work. And believe me, we operate under the Spirit of Christ and we say in his name and we have faith and we have order, they're going to do it. And that's including all those miracles, casting out demons, walking on water, whatever the case may be. Let's look at this precept of Christ showing that he did, in fact, make all of the elements, make all of the angels, which the sea is a spirit. This is the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 13, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. Verse 15, here's a key verse, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. So the reason he has his power and the reason he was tasked to do that, he is truly the Most High's Son, the firstborn, right? Verse 16, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible. So you can see he created all things. So that's including the water, right? That's including the spirits. All the angels are spirits, and he's going to go into them in specific, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. So of course he would know all the inner workings of the waters because he created them. If he wanted them to chill, if he wanted them to stand still, he able to get that for him to walk on it perfectly. Okay. When we come into the knowledge of Christ, we're able to do the same things and more. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the end of that chapter where it goes into how, many were made healed just by touching the hem of his garment. And I want to go back to a precept on that as well, because it just shows us that a little bit of Christ makes all the difference, goes a long way. It can heal us. Just getting any piece of him, just a little bit of him will just go throughout our body and just, cause all type of healing to happen. Let's look at Matthew chapter 9, verse 20. We'll go up to 26. This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 9, verse 20. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. So you see again that hem of his garment. Verse 21. For she said within herself, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. And again, the second part of that is the faith part of that. She actually believed that. She believed that with every fiber of her being. Okay. Verse 22. But Yeshua turned around about, and when he saw her, he said, daughter, be of good comfort. And then he said unto her, thy faith have made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that very hour. So you can see just getting any bit of his garment. Okay. There was another precept you can go to where Christ actually said, who touched me? Right. And the woman, hey, she just wanted to be whole. Christ said he felt virtue come out of him. Okay. So that's a very, very important part of the gospel, is the fact that when we operate in the Spirit of Christ, the healing power that we have through Christ. Okay. And it's virtue running through our bodies. It's the Holy Spirit running through our bodies. And we can actually feel some of that leave us to help somebody else and to heal somebody else. And with that, thank you for being with us today. I hope this reading blesses you in some way. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And be on the lookout for more content, more videos that we'll be having from Precept Upon Precept. And as always, may the Most High strengthen you, establish you, and settle you. Bless you.